Well, welcome into another episode of What's the Lingo, hosted by your boy, Armani Lingo. And folks, it's that time of the year again. We have the Stanley Cup playoffs upon us. Very, very exciting times. And look, we got a lot to discuss in this episode about a specific team, so we're going to get straight into it. So what's the lingo for today? Well, the Vegas Golden Knights clinched the Stanley Cup playoffs for the seventh time in their 8-year history. They finished this season with a record of 50, 22, and 10. That is the third best record in the NHL. It is also their fourth time clinching the Pacific Division. And it is the third time the Golden Knights have had a 50-plus win season. And they will play the Minnesota Wild in the first round of the Stanley Cup playoffs. Minnesota. Man, are you Vegas fans really spoiled? I mean, 7 times in their 8 years and already have one Stanley Cup to show for it. It's crazy. Like Minnesota, I think they've been around the league for 24 or 25 seasons now. And they don't even have a Stanley Cup. So look, before we do get into this video, I have covered the team as a reporter throughout this season. I've been to, I would say, like 95% of their home games. I think I only missed 1 or 2. And I don't want to make this sound biased or anything or make it sound like I'm being a fan. I want to be as objective as possible when it comes to the Vegas Golden Knights. I know I got a Golden Knights little banner back there, so I don't want to make it seem like I'm being a fan or anything. No, this is going to be 100% objective. We're going to deeply analyze and see if the Golden Knights have a chance to win their second Stanley Cup. So let's get straight into it. And one of the big categories that I think is the most essential category, an essential role in the Stanley Cup playoffs, is goaltending. I think if you don't have good goaltending going into the playoffs, you're not going to get anywhere close to the Stanley Cup Finals. I do believe goaltending is the most essential role in the playoffs. And the previous 10 Stanley Cup champion goalies will say so. Like, look at this list. Corey Crawford with the Hawks, Andrei Vasilevsky with the Lightning, Matt Murray, 1-2 with Pittsburgh, Braden Holtby with the Caps, Jordan Binnington with the Blues, Sergei Bobrovsky with the Florida Panthers, Adin Hill with the Golden Knights, and David Kemper with the Colorado Avalanche. Now, some of you guys might be wondering, some of the guys on this list aren't, top 10 goalies of all time or like super, super elite goalies, but they were elite when they were in the playoffs, and when their team needed them to come up big, they came up big, right? That Jordan Binnington year, I mean, we all thought he was going to be the next, like, Andrei Vasilevsky or Martin Brodeur. It didn't turn out to be like that, but hey, he was just that for that Stanley Cup run. So, we're going to talk a lot about Adin Hill, obviously, and let's just read over some of his stats. He's 32-13-5 in net. He has a 2.47 goals against, a .906 save percentage, and he has 4 shutouts this season. Now, for all you goalie fanatics or statistic guys, you look at those stats, and it's not the best. It's not terrible. Don't get me wrong. But it's okay. I would say it's above average, right? I mean, his save percentage, he's tied for 16th in the NHL. So it's not like he has crazy stats or anything. But after watching Adin Hill play a lot of games this season, especially at home, he's came up big when you needed him to. And look, the Knights don't need Adin Hill to go crazy. He doesn't need to be a Connor Hellebuck, an Andrei Vasilevsky, an Igor Shesterkin. He doesn't need to be those guys. So, watching plenty of games, though, with the Golden Knights this season, home and away, there were plenty of games where Adin Hill, when the team just wasn't playing well defensively or just weren't on their games, he's come up big. He's come up big, and he has proven this season that when the Golden Knights are not on their A game, he can stop grade A opportunities and keep them within the game. And look, it's obviously rare for the Golden Knights to defensively, to just let down and have to rely on Adin Hill. And we'll get into defense a little bit later in the video. But like I said, they don't need Adin Hill to carry the team. They don't. He's had plenty of games this season, though, where, if the Golden Knights do give it up a breakaway or a 2-on-1, he's come up big and he's stopped those great opportunities. And he's played really efficient for the team. So, when I'm looking at the West this year, there's obviously a lot of offensive talent in the West. I think the West this year, by the way, is way more stacked than the East. And we'll definitely dive in deep to the Western Conference a little bit later in the video also. But here's the thing. If Adin isn't on his A game and if he's, struggling in these games, I do think it will be a problem for the Vegas Golden Knights. And look, the Golden Knights can bail out Adin Hill when he's not playing well. Like I said, they obviously have a great defensive structure program. And they put up points when needed to. But they do need Adin Hill to be one of the top goalies in the West if they want to have a shot at the Stanley Cup. And looking at some of the goalies in the Western Conference, you got Connor Hellebuck, most likely going to win the Vezina Trophy, and arguably the best goaltender this season. Darcy Kemper for the LA Kings, finishing the season strong with a 6-1 record and a .942 save percentage in those 7 games. Jake Ottinger, I know him and the Stars have been struggling with that 7-game losing streak, but Jake can turn it on anytime. And even in this first-round matchup against the Wild, Philip Gustafsson is playing decent with a .914 save percentage this season and 5 shutouts, which is tied for third in the NHL. But as I mentioned earlier, the Golden Knights, the way they play, their identity on defense, it's a very goaltender-friendly system. And that's where we're going to jump into our next category, is just overall team play. Look, we know the Golden Knights are incredible at minimizing grade A opportunities, limiting odd man rushes, forcing opponents to shoot from the outside, and they're also really good at block shots. They're not as good as the 2023 team. I think they finished block shots. They were 16th in the NHL in block shots. But still, it's a whole different season in the playoffs. They play their identity, especially on defense. They're big and physical. And they're obviously going to help out Adin Hill when they can. So Bruce Cassidy multiple times this season has said that this team reminds him of the 2023 Stanley Cup winning team that he coached. And you look at the lineup, it's, obviously a lot of players from that 2023 Stanley Cup team. But the way that they're playing and that the way that Bruce Cassidy has them playing to his system and the identity he wants them to play at, it is very, very similar to that 23 Stanley Cup team. Because they have 4 lines where they can produce not only on offense and defense. They got 6 D-men back there that can also produce offensively and defensively. I mean, Shea Theodore, he's having one heck of a season. So is Noah Hannafin. I mean, that Noah Hannafin pickup was huge for the Golden Knights. I'm pulling up his stats right now. Yeah, Shea Theodore only had 7 goals, but 50 assists this season. Noah Hannafin, 10 goals and 29 assists this season. It may remind you, Shea Theodore missed some time towards the end of the season. I think it was with the upper body injury after the Four Nations, after he got hit in the boards in that Canada and Finland game? Yeah, the first game that Canada played, he got injured, and he missed some time after the Four Nations break. But yeah, him and Noah Hannafin have been not only solid on defense, but just putting up and adding points for the Vegas Golden Knights on offense. So overall, it's all clicking, right? They have the four lines. They have the D-men that can play defense and play their identity. And all of them, they're big. I mean, I saw this stat. Just scroll down here. Yeah, when you average the weight and height, the Golden Knights are the heaviest team in the NHL. And they're also a very physical team. Which is, essential for the playoffs. So not only will they have the size advantage, they have the four lines advantage, they have the D-man advantage, in my opinion. And I'm comparing this a lot to the West. I do think, I would say Dallas probably matches up really well when it comes to depth when comparing to the Golden Knights. But Dallas, they're on a 7-game losing streak, and they just lost one of their best players in Jason Robertson against that Nashville game, I think. And I saw a tweet, he came out with a knee brace. So Dallas is a little bit banged up, and they're not going into the playoffs with a whole lot of confidence and with that 7-game losing streak. So I do believe the Golden Knights in the West, and arguably also the East, they have the best depth in the NHL. And being non-biased too, I believe they also have the best system in the NHL. They're just super tough to play against. It's hard to generate any type of offense against them. As I mentioned earlier, they rarely give up 2-on-1s or any breakaways. They just clog up the neutral zone. They always have someone chasing after you and on the puck. And yeah, it's just not an easy team to play against. And with that size and their physicality, it just makes it that much harder. And look, they're also a very disciplined team. The Golden Knights were penalized 197 times this season, becoming the first team in NHL history to receive less than 200 penalties over the course of an 82-game season. That's according to VGKPR, by the way. So you're not going to get this team on the power play a lot, or you're not going to get this team on the penalty kill a lot. And look, when they are on the penalty kill, that Riley Smith and William Karlsson duo on the penalty kill, every time they're out on the penalty kill, it seems like they're generating offense. And speaking of depth, with them adding Riley Smith at the deadline, him and Karlsson are getting better and better and better. And that's a scary duo to see. Because we all know William Karlsson, arguably one of the best two-way forwards in the NHL. And with Riley Smith, he's Riley Smith doing what he did with the 2023 Stanley Cup team. Can put up points, but also can play solid defense at the same time. Those two you want to watch out for in the Stanley Cup playoffs. I think they can do a lot of damage, especially on the penalty kill. And when you look at the team, there's a lot of players that broke career highs. Tomas Hertl had a career season. Pavel Dorofeyev, career season. And I want to speak a little bit about Pavel Dorofeyev here in a second. Brett Howden, Jack Eichel, Keegan Kolesar. I think there's a couple more. I just didn't catch on. But yeah, a lot of these guys having career seasons, and they're hot. And one of those guys that was just tearing it up that no one saw coming is Pavel Dorofeyev. 35 goals this season. I think there was only 2 more players in VGK history that had 35 plus, and I think that was William Karlsson when he had that 40 plus goal season, and Jonathan Marchessault. And ever since Marchessault, left the team, Pavel Dorofeyev has stepped into that role of being a natural goal scorer and scoring goals when needed to. So, and he's just also just nasty on the power play. He lines up, what is he? Is he a lefty? Yeah, I think he just lines up on that right side of the dot on the power play, and he just blasts it home. He's got one heck of a shot. And we always knew Pavel Dorofeyev has a great shot, and he's done so much this season to improve his game, not only on offense but defense. So, and how about Jack Eichel? Career high in points, 94. Man, I really want him to reach that 100-point mark, but towards the end of the season, he was dealing with an upper body injury. He got a goal against Vancouver last night. But yeah, he finishes the season with 28 goals and 66 assists. Looking like prime Buffalo Jack Eichel. So, and then Tomas Hertl. 32 goals, 29 assists, 61 points. And a lot of those guys, and those guys I just mentioned, Dorofeyev, Hertl, Eichel, all those guys are on the power play. And we have to talk about VGK's power play this season. I mean, they were nearly 30% on the power play. And for those that don't know, 30% on the power play is nearly perfect. It's nearly perfect. So the Knights were second in the league on the power play with 29%, just behind the Winnipeg Jets with 31%. But the Knights had the best road power play percentage in the league with 31.5%. And Hertl led the team with 12 power play goals, and Eichel led the power play in points with 30. So look, if they can continue that in the playoffs, because we all know there's going to be power plays in the playoffs. Everyone gets physical. Everyone's going to throw, maybe a cheap hit, an elbow there and there. So there's inevitably going to be power plays in the playoffs. And if the Golden Knights can continue that success, it's a dangerous team, man. It's a dangerous team. They're clicking on all cylinders, So look, when we talk about that overall team play, they have it. They like I said earlier, are very comparable to that 2023 Stanley Cup team. 4 lines, 6 solid defensemen, a goalie that can get stops when needed to. Doesn't need to be an A++ goalie every night. Power play, weight and height advantage, physical, and just have and they've just been playing to their system. But don't be surprised, guys, to see Vegas back in the Stanley Cup. Because I do believe they can get past those first 2 teams in Minnesota, or if they were to play Edmonton or LA, I do believe they can get past those guys and go for the conference final. But I will have to say that the Jets beat the Golden Knights in the Western Conference final. So are the Golden Knights a Stanley Cup team? According to this bracket and this prediction, no. But they 100% do have the team to win another Stanley Cup. They got it all. They got the power play going. They got, as I mentioned, the 4 lines, 6 solid defensemen, and a solid goaltender when you need it to. So yes, the Golden Knights do have the team to win the Stanley Cup, but I think Winnipeg slightly has the advantage. That's because if Connor Hellebuck right there. If Connor Hellebuck can just play well in the playoffs, Winnipeg is going to get their first Stanley Cup. And I do believe the Jets will win the Stanley Cup if they get to the Stanley Cup. So yeah, guys, that's going to pretty much end the video on if the Vegas Golden Knights can win the Stanley Cup for the second time. As I said, they got the team for it. And just to end off this video, I just want to say thank you guys so much for watching. If you haven't, please click the like button and subscribe button. We'll definitely appreciate it, and we'll definitely grow my channel. And comment down below what you guys want to see. I will continue to update you guys throughout the Stanley Cup playoffs with the Vegas Golden Knights. I'm hoping that I'll be able to cover every game they have down here for the Vegas Golden Knights. So stay updated, and if you guys have any questions, just let me know. But hey guys, thank you so much for watching this video, and I hope to see you guys soon on the next one. Stay tuned.